Hello everyone, I discovered a fully buildable cave base in one of the most resource-rich areas in Grounded 2. Now, not only does it happen to be in one of the best locations on the map for resources, it also happens to be one of the safest locations on the map, and it even has additional room to expand. Welcome to my humble cave base. In today's video, not only am I going to give you a tour of the base, I'm going to show you how I actually got it set up, and some cool building tips that you've probably never seen before. Now, starting off here at the entrance, before it was just a bunch of dirt and water, but I wanted it to feel a little bit like it was actually renovated, but still natural. So I placed down all these pebbles, creating a pebble walkway to it. And the best way to do this on uneven ground is to actually place down the grass planks or floors directly below. You can use stems, but the grass ones not only look nicer, I think, but they also have the flattest hitbox in the entire game. Everything you can place on them is flat. You can place down basically one pebblet path here, and then another on the other side. So you're getting two pebblet paths, so 20 stone will cover one plank. It was a lot of farming, but I think it looks really nice. The only areas I couldn't cover was this little patch here with the tree, but it kind of looks nice just sticking out, makes it look more natural. Then on this side, I had lots of these dirt mounds like this, so I basically just pulled it out half a wall, try to cover up all the dirt mounds, and then I went through and I built these palisades here as walls. The palisades are actually going to be wherever they went here, right here. I really like how they look. Typically, I'm not a big fan of this really rough edge on the top, but I like the fact that it looked really rough in this cave base, and then they actually almost stuck into the dirt. I really like how it turned out. And then over here, I did the same thing as well. Now, another cool tip is that the on this side here, you can actually place down clay pillars. You can mesh them into or beneath structures. So I went through, and the best way to do this is actually to, anytime you can't place something, go into first person, and placing things in first person is far easier than trying to place them in third person. So if we were to go to the pillars, for example, and if the clay has the flat surface, you'll notice we can't really place this. It's all about angles. So that if you get on top of here, for example, you can't do it, but then if you crouch, you'll see it actually comes through the floor. So it did take a little bit of patience actually lining up, but if you ever can't place something, know that your problem can be fixed 95% of the time by changing your angles. First change from third person to first person, then try crouching versus standing up, then try rotating your camera versus moving your actual character. And a lot of those really weird, awkward positions, those camera tricks will fix the problem like 95% of the time. Same thing with placing things on the wall. These do not exactly have a flat surface, for example. So if I go to place this here, you'll notice that that's the light there, but sometimes there's inconsistencies when placing items on the wall. Notice like right here, for example. So just move it over, or sometimes rotate your camera without moving your character, and you can place it wherever you want just by changing the angle. Now these roots stayed, and I wasn't too worried. I really like how these look again as part of the cave-like system. Another thing to save space, you can actually place the nest here inside your garden, and the garden can actually grow food while having an egg in here, and it looks like the egg thing also has the garden kind of details in it. Alright, at this point in time, we're about halfway through the video, so if you are enjoying today's video, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing for future Grounded 2 content. Now for the actual inside of the base, try to get as creative as possible and include everything you would need, but also try to keep things pretty minimalistic to save on space. So I've got a basic weapon stuff here, pretty easy setup. Place down the campfire directly inside, so when it actually turns on, the cookery looks like it's on. You can do the same thing over here, for example. I don't think I have enough items to craft anything. I do not. But then I elevated the fridge again to create a little bit more depth, so it wasn't everything just flat on the ground. Then over here, I placed down the rug directly below the workbench. I placed the workbench first, then placed the rug below, so it looks like the workbench is actually on a rug, which I think is a nice little feature. Stuck the desk here in the chair like somebody's actually working. Then for the lights here, it's really dark, so I actually placed down a light directly behind the wall, so it looks like the chest area was lit up without having the annoying flame being right there in the chest, because those lights can be kind of blinding. I thought about putting something here. Maybe I could put a portrait here, but everything was already very detailed. So honestly, I just left this here kind of as just open space because not every inch has to be decorated. Then I learned that if you place down two of the walls here and create just a standard 1x2, if you place down the quarter walls like this, the pine quarter walls, you can actually get the bed to snap when you use the grids, for example. You get it to snap here in place. See if I could turn it around here. Turn off the snap grid, you'll notice that it actually pops up and can be placed down when you turn the snapping off, and it will kind of, by default, snap to a higher level, so it looks like a bunk bed. I really like that. And then over here, we've just got all the extra workshop stuff, and again, I decorated everything here. So a lot of cool, little, interesting, unique tips. But yeah, I really like how this turned out. All the storage you can need. If you need more storage, you could build over here too. Now as you can see, I can go through and place down scaffoldings everywhere within this cave. So I placed down some scaffoldings in the front and in the back to ensure I have adequate support on both sides in the event for some reason it does get damaged. Then you can also go through and see the roots that you have to chew through originally to get into this cave. When you first get in this cave, there's actually just a piece of raw science, I believe, but there's not any creatures that spawn in here. Then in the back right corner, there is also a diggable treasure chest. Then there's one located directly above the base as well. So in order to get this base started, I basically just went through and I filled in planks all along the bottom to ensure that it was actually properly built and I had some space to work with. Now typically you can't mesh items into these ground-based walls, so I actually created some walls of my own. That way there was more structure, I had more room to work with, and I can place down all my different decorations within this wall. So once I had walls down all around the base, I actually left the ceiling open. I could have placed down some ceiling tiles so I could actually hang things, but I really liked the fact that it still resonated with that cave base, and I wanted to keep that aesthetic, so I didn't want to completely box myself in. Now the one thing is, being a cave, it is very dark, so I did have to go through and figure out some lighting, and for my lighting, I actually went through and I changed the color of the lights, because I hated how the natural lighting looked. I really liked this purplish bluish color, because it's a much darker tone, which kind of fit the cave-like theme. Now another thing to consider too is that these roots you saw with the ant that I chewed through, they were originally there, but once I placed down the wall inside those roots, they actually disappeared, and now it's been about 20 days and they have not regrown. And they're not just invisible, they're completely gone, because I was able to place down one of the portraits on the wall and it does appear as a flat structure. So for whatever reason, they acted like another item to where if you build over it, they just disappear. So yeah, I don't think these roots are coming back anytime soon. So I'd say if you plan on building here, just build a wall through the roots and eventually they should disappear. And I also went through and I filled in the top because I didn't want there to be a hole on the top. So I went through and I filled that in with these stem-like floors. And then I actually placed down all my sap collectors up top and also placed a dew collector as well, since it was just slightly too tall to actually fit into the base. But yeah, that's pretty much the base. And for the most part, that's how I set most of it up. A really safe area. Now for any of you that have been on the channel or even watching the recent base build, you notice the last base build was right here with the research station. This new base is actually going to be located just over here in the corner, really close by to the last location. So you have the lingonberries here, clover, sap, gnats, and grubs on your front door for some food. And then the base is located just down below here. And then up top, there will be some web sacks, and there's one spiderling. Only one spiderling that will patrol this area. That is it. There's no other threats. And then when it comes to other available resources in the area as well, you actually have the, let me go through and go into photo mode so I can show you better. When you go up, you actually have this green bucket, and this green bucket here is full of 6 acorns. You have a whole bunch of stems, as you can see over there. Beneath the picnic table, you've got clay, you got more food, more clovers, loads of planks. Over here as well is the best area to gather pine cones, just directly across from the base, that big rock right there. Not pine cones, I'm sorry, pine needles. It is honestly one of the very best locations in the entire game for resources. You also have the lingonberries just over here on the hedge. The only thing you're missing is normal berries because they're clear across the way, but they recently made the ones on the picnic table accessible, so you could actually farm everything you need here without ever having to cross the map again. Oh, by the way, here's where it's located on the map. I didn't show you that. It's located in the pine area. The other base is just right down here by the research station. Very close. So you are in the northern part of the map. Alright, well that pretty much covers it for today's base build, but if you are looking for additional cool tips for Grounded 2, then I recommend you check out this video here.